What's up everyone, welcome to Cosplay Quick. Today we're going to be working on the dagger from Fate's Day Night. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Alright, so first I have this template that I drew out, and we're going to be using some plywood. I believe this is 1/2-inch plywood. And as you see, there are some nooks and crannies in it, but all I'm going to do is I'm just going to work around it, I guess. So, first thing we're going to do is draw out the design. Basic shape cut out, it's time to sand the whole thing. As you can see, when I cut this, I didn't cut exactly to the line. That's so then I have places for imperfections, such as right here. So, for these small parts, I'm going to use a Dremel tool, but for these long parts right here, I'm going to use a belt sander. If you don't have a belt sander, that's fine. You can use files, sandpaper, whatever you want. Now we have made all the edges clean and it looks all nice and smooth. And now what we're going to do is work on these little tidbits right here. Now this is 1/2-inch plywood. The bevel is going to be on this side. We'll worry about the bevel later. Right now I'm going to worry about these little parts right there. So what I'm going to do, I think, is I'm going to cut this section out right here out of some MDF. Now the MDF I'm using is this thin. This is about 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to cut out that section right there. So if I can get some scissors. We need scissors. Alright, so after you've gotten your scissors, we're going to cut out this piece right here. So now you have this piece. Now from this point you can throw away this handle piece. We're not going to need that anymore. So, take these, trace it out on your whatever material. You can use whatever. I'm just using MDF because that's what I have, but this is 1/4 inch, so just you can use any material as long as it's that dimension. And honestly, you don't really have to make it exactly like I do too. Now while I'm here, I might as well just go through all of these. So you got your circle cut out. We have this part cut out. Obviously that's traced, and we have this. So finally, we're going to cut out this part right here. Remember to save this piece because we're going to need that bevel line. So for when we bevel our blade. Now, we have these 4 pieces, which are going to go like this. This triangle piece and this little handle piece right here are going to be cut out in the same 1/4 inch material. So again, I'm going to take this, I'm going to trace it out. So after you've gotten these 4 pieces cut out, for the circle, I'm going to be using the 1/2-inch material. However, for the 1/2-inch material, what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably sand it down just a little bit. So as you can see, there's 4 layers on this plywood. So I'm going to sand it down 1/4 of an inch, which means I'm going to have a 3/4 inch piece for the circle. And that 3/4 inch piece is going to sit right there. We're going to cut in the middle. So, again, I'm going to grab some leftover wood. Now I'm going to grab a small piece and then it's easier to work with. Alright, now I'll cut out all these shapes. So, after you cut out these pieces, there shouldn't be too much, there's only a few. So, you're going to have 2 of each, you're going to have 2 of these, 2 of these, and 2 of these. So, as you can see, I did not cut them exactly onto their lines. This is because I'm going to sand them with sandpaper, especially these parts, because I have a bandsaw. So, I can't really make these smooth, like, cuts like that. So, as you can see, it looks pretty nice. It's going to look a lot better once you sand it down. So I'm going to take a belt sander or a sandpaper, just sand it down. And for all these little parts, I'm going to use a Dremel tool with a sanding drum. And I'm just going to sand all that off. And as you can see, make all these look nice and pretty too. So, let's get Now we have sanded all our shapes, blah blah. I still need to finish up this one, but we'll worry about that one later. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clamp these in here, and I noticed that in my bandsaw I can't really get these really small cuts right here. So what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to use my Dremel tool with this little ball point, and I'm going to, you know, do whatever. Now, what we're going to do is after I clean all this up, we're going to glue everything to the actual base of the sword. Now, how we're going to do that, obviously, is take these. This goes like these. And this goes like this. And this part finally goes right here. Now, as for this part, we're going to bevel this. And we're going to bevel this at a 45-degree angle. That way, when we wrap the handle, it'll have a smoother transition down. But after you do all that, glue it together, and then I'll get back to you. Together. Looks really good, and this part's beveled, obviously. And we're going to get to shape the handle later, but right now what we're going to do is take our template, grab our scissors, all you have to do is either take files or, in my case, a Dremel tool and sand from this point down to this point right in the middle. Now, I'm lucky enough to have an even number of plywood layers, so there's 4, so I just need to go down to the middle. However, I do not want to make this too thin. If I make it too thin, that means it's going to break a lot easier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace the middle with a Sharpie marker. Now, I want to use a marker for this because I want something that's just a little thick, not too much, but just a little thick. So again, continue to trace it down. So that is going to be my new point of where I should stop. That way you get this much of material left, so then you can round it off and make it look all nice and whatnot. So, get to work. After 2 hours of sanding, you get this. So as you can see, I've made all these the same, made it all nice and smooth, made that smooth, and most importantly, I got the bevel down. And as you can see, this whole entire thing right here is still thick enough so then you can still hit it across something and it won't break it. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to shape the handles. Now I'm going to use a Dremel tool for this. Now this part I know wants to be straight, but this part I want to be curved. So I'm going to bevel this and that, and just bevel this part slightly and start to shape this. And to shape this, I'm just going to round it off, nothing too serious. But yeah, just do that really quick. Finished doing all the shaping. Feels really nice. Feels really nice to hold. And as for this part, I kind of figured I just want to keep it like a square type of thing. And this I beveled it just a little bit so then the wrap can go around it easily. Alright, so now everything is almost done. What I'm going to do now is there are these little spots right here where I want to fill it in. So I'm going to get some epoxy putty, mix up a little bit, and just put them in these little crevices. I'm into you. I'm into you. I'm into you. I'm into you. Pause this on. Everything should be dry and stuff by now. Now I'm going to be doing the black version with the hexagon shapes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray paint all of this red, and I'll deal with all this later. So for now I'm just going to spray paint all that red, but I need to wait for this to fully dry so I can... After you have painted this whole thing with red, and it's dry, or at least slightly dry, we're going to cover up the whole entire blade with painter's tape. Alright, so once you've gotten every little part of red on the blade covered up, what we're going to do to achieve this effect right here is we're going to take a hexagon, any type of hexagon, and I'm seeing that it's a little bit angled like this. So if I just take that and I trace it, I'm going to start my whole entire pattern. Now I do the same thing like this. Continue that for the whole entire blade. Alright, so after you've drawn out all your hexagons, it's obviously not going to be perfect, but you know, just do the best you can. Now what you're going to do is you're going to cut out these hexagons, but not exactly on the line. It's probably going to go about right here on every line. Just to want to get those lines out, just like it does on the picture. So if I do one, for example. So after you cut out every single hexagon here, make sure that everything is patterned down really nicely. You don't want the black to see through. If it does, you can just touch it up later, it's fine, but I'd rather save myself the trouble. After everything, you're going to paint black now. It'd be best obviously use spray paint, but I can't find mine. So I'm going to just use some black coat. Off your magnificent tape. What we're going to do now is we're going to paint the rest of the blade. So if I take a look at the reference photo here, this is a different design, but I'm doing one from the anime. This whole part right here should be brown, and that part should be brown too, and this is going to be wrapped. But as for this, that's still the same. So this is going to be white, that's going to be white, and this side is going to be white. So what I'm going to do is probably paint this part over here a grayish color, as long as the middle part, and then do the black and the white, whatnot, and paint this whole thing white along with here. So I'm going to mask this part off. Alright, so once we paint our dagger, we're going to make the wrap. Now, obviously in the splash arts and the fan arts and in anime, the wrap is black. However, I want to make it my own a little bit, and I have this really cool fabric, this gray silverish fabric I want to use. So all we're going to do, and this would apply to black as well. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut out a strip of this fabric. Now, not too thin, but not too thick, so just decent size, maybe like a ribbon. And I'm going to leave the frayed edges on there, because I want to get that type of look. So maybe not that thin. I'll have to cut my red sheets here. Now I'm kind of pushing and forcing the scissors into there. What that's doing is that it's making it very rugged, and it makes it seem very old. As you can see, just that really nice rugged look. Now this is going to wrap around the handle a couple times, and this should be enough. So I'm going to put 2 fingers. 1, 2, 4. Yeah, this is for sure enough. So we're going to use some hot glue. We're going to glue it all the way up.